Hey everyone, this is Bales. I'm at FantasyLabs looking at MLB player models, and I wanted to do a video on how to use or how not to use our optimizer. So here in the lineups tab, we have the ability to optimize a lineup, which will create the best lineup mathematically based on your model and your player ratings. So this lineup right here is the mathematically best. It optimizes for the player ratings created in my particular model. The optimal can change throughout the day as we get new information. So as the lineup order changes in baseball, or there's a scratch in NBA or whatever, the optimal will change to adjust for that. So one thing that I think is not a good idea is to just blindly click optimize and plug that lineup into DFS sites. And there's a few reasons for that. One is there's just always going to be blind spots in your model that you're not going to be able to necessarily account for everything. There's still a lot of skill that goes into even after creating the model, being able to interpret it and determine which players are truly worthy of being in your lineup. And things like correlations in baseball are really big. Stacking obviously is something that you can do that will forego mathematical value but can increase the upside or widen the range of outcomes of your lineup that it's ultimately a good thing. Another one might be severe rain that isn't incorporated into the model. You don't want to, you're playing in a cash game. You don't want to take chances on your pitchers in particular if they're in games with thunderstorms, and the model might not know that, and there needs to be some subjectivity that goes into that. And then just certain player types that maybe mathematically are technically good values that really don't offer a ton of usable value, that won't help you win a league because players aren't chosen in isolation. Your goal is to put together the best combination of players, and looking solely at individual player value might not do that, especially on cheaper players. So the way that I recommend using this is you can click optimize to see what it spits out, what is technically mathematically the best value. I think there's some value in that because sometimes there's just some insights that maybe aren't intuitive. What I like to do is I typically will just use this area as a true lineup builder, just as you would on DraftKings, for example, but we have all of the data here. So I might start with pitchers, lock in the two who I want, and then just go through the positions, looking at things like scarcity, for example. So you can see here the deviation in players' ratings are going to dictate how valuable they are. That's another thing that's not incorporated into the models per se, or into the optimal lineup. And so I'll just go through and use it as a builder. Another way that I'll use it sometimes, and something that I also think is better than just optimizing, is locking in guys who you want in your lineup. So let's say I'm set on my pitchers, and I know that I want a particular core. Let's say I want to do a mini Mets stack, and so I want to lock in these guys. Might be too expensive, but let's say I want to use a 4-man here and then optimize around it. And so then it'll give me the best lineup, and that lineup will be unique. So if I'm using it for tournaments, maybe I do want values placed around my stack and the pitchers who I want or whatever, but clicking optimize and getting a lineup that maybe isn't unique, especially if you haven't created your own model, is definitely not going to be as advantageous as building it yourself, and realizing that every model has blind spots. Every model, it's never going to be so perfect that we can always trust that the best values are always listed at the very top of the model. The model does a really good job of whittling things down and giving you an idea of, okay, this group of players is probably going to be good values, and then you just make smart decisions from there and choose from those players who are listed at the top, who are probably the better values for the day and the guys that you want to select.